All right, guys, welcome back to SJG Perspective, part number 5 of this article by Whitney Webb that we're going through. Please look up Whitney Webb, and this article will be in the description. It's the what's the name of this article? We're in the Bipartisan Washington Insider reveals their plan for chaos on the 2020 election. Okay, so we've covered who they were. We've covered kind of what their plan is. We've covered these war games of what they're planning to do and how the Transition Integrity Project is really just a name only about integrity of transition. It's really about manipulation in transition. How this all ties to essentially a color revolution, which is also a coup. We've talked about the left. In this bipartisanship, those who are involved in the left and their ties, and just surfacely touched on what they're tied to, and those on the right and what they're tied to. Now I want to jump into who this pre-planned chaos, who benefits from it. So this time I'm going to make sure I put up this so you can read along with me. So jumping in, please like, subscribe, go to SJG Perspective, subscribe to me there and follow. You can find places to follow me there also, aside from YouTube and all these other places. So please go there. Okay, that's all the plug I'm going to give on that. While it certainly is possible, so pre-planned chaos, who benefits? While it certainly is possible that in the event of a clear Biden win, President Trump could refuse to leave the White House or take the other actions that would challenge the faith of many Americans in the national election system. However, while the tip claims to be specifically concerned about this eventuality and about safeguarding democracy without favoring either candidate, that is clearly not the case, as their simulation of a clear Trump win shows that extreme undemocratic behavior, in their view, is permissible if it prevents another 4 years of Trump. Yet this clear double standard reveals that an influential group of bipartisan insiders are intent on creating a constitutional crisis if Trump wins, and are planning for such a crisis regardless of the 2020 election results. This is the biggest thing about what I'm trying to say, is that they are planning a constitutional crisis regardless of who wins, regardless of if it's clear who wins, right? If it's Trump who wins, they're gonna cause all kinds of problems. If Biden wins, then some of these things are going to back off from. It's clear that this is not unbiased, like Whitney just clearly stated. This is a planned event to cause a revolution, a color revolution, a coup, a complete and total unrest in the cities and in the country unless Biden is elected president. They've said they're going to blackmail us. They've given us, they played out in their war games if Trump does win, how they're going to act like spoiled, rotten little babies, throwing temper tantrums in the corner. This is not going to go smoothly, guys. I think the only way it does, it throws off all of their plans, is if it's like a shellacking in the polls. That's the only way they're going to have a hard time pulling some of this stuff off. If there's no way to debate, no way to dissuade people from believing that the election was fake, and that has to happen under a complete and total shellacking. Of course, under that scenario, they might say this has never happened, this bad of a shellacking. Obviously, this isn't true, or whatever. It's just not good. Anyways, moving on. Who benefits from this? Well, before the Transition Integrity Project or any of their affiliated groups emerged to conduct these doomsday election simulations, other groups were similarly engaged in war games that predicted complete chaos in the U.S. On election day, as well as the imposition of martial law in the U.S. following the emergence of unprecedented unrest and disarray in the country. Several of these I detailed in a series earlier this year, which mainly focused on the Operation Blackout simulations. And what were Operation Blackout simulations? Why a shadowy tech firm with ties to Israel intelligence is running doomsday election simulations. This is an article I encourage you guys to go and read. Basically, election day 2020, 32 Americans dead, over 200 injured. Martial law declared, an election itself is canceled. So, anyways, go read this one. This is some war games that were played out during a different operation. But anyways, she'll probably touch on this. It says, which I mainly focused on Operation Blackout simulations conducted by a U.S.-Israeli company, Cybereason. That company has considerable ties to the U.S. and Israeli intelligence, and its largest investor is SoftBank. Notably, SoftBank is named by Eric Schmidt-led National Security Commission on AI as forming the backbone of a global framework of AI-driven companies favored by the corporation or cooperation faction as a means of enacting the fourth industrial revolution in cooperation with China's economic and political elite. Well, that sounds encouraging. In addition to cyber reason, several mainstream media reports and a series of suspect predictions from the U.S. intelligence and other federal agencies released last year had seeded the narrative that the 2020 election would not only fail spectacularly, but that the U.S. democracy would never recover. Now, with the TIPS simulation added to the mix and the advent of previously predicted chaos throughout the country with the 2020 election just 2 months away, it is clear that November 3rd election will not only be a complete disaster, but a pre-planned one. This is where we're going to get into. This is so important. Please share this video out. It's been pre-planned, guys. The question then becomes who benefits from complete chaos on and following the 2020 election. As the Transition Integrity Project suggested several of their simulations, the post-election role of the military in terms of domestic policing, incidentally, the exact expertise of the Transition Integrity Project's co-founder Rosa Brooks, looms large as most of the aforementioned doomsday election simulations ended with the imposition of martial law or the military stepping in to resolve and oversee the transition. The domestic framework for imposing martial law in the U.S. via continuity of government protocols was activated earlier this year. This is with General O'Shaughnessy going into Colorado's Granite Rock, I believe it is, going deep within the granite mountains of Colorado to be safe in the case of, and they used it as the cover was COVID as a cover to say, if something bad happens, we have a set of people that are secure inside the heart of a mountain to keep America running. So it was activated earlier this year under the guise of coronavirus, and it remains in effect. Now a series of groups deeply tied to Washington's establishment and domestic and foreign intelligence agencies have predicted the exact ways in which to engineer a failed election and manipulate its aftermath. Who would stand to benefit the most from the imposition of martial law in the United States? I would argue that one need look no further than the battle within Washington's power factions over the future of AI, which has been deemed of critical importance to national security by the public sector, the private sector, and the prominent think tanks. The Schmidt-led NSCAI and other bodies determining the country's AI policies plan to implement a series of policies that will be deeply resisted by most Americans, from the elimination of individual car ownership to the elimination of cash, as well as the imposition of an Orwellian surveillance system, among other things. All the stuff that the tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists have been screaming and talking about for years is now right on our doorstep, and we're going to see unfolded in the coming years. This is what's going to happen. That's why I pray Trump gets in office and gives us at least another 4 years. And during those 4 years, don't think, oh, America's going to be good. Now we can all just go back to relaxing and doing business as normal. Nope. Plan your survival at that point. Plan your future at that point while there's some peace, because the storm will come hard. And I'm telling you that is the absolute truth. So you need to really get serious about planning where you're going to live, who's going to be your community around you, what your supplies are, everything, because things are going to get really ugly here coming forward. All of these agendas have advanced under the guise of combating coronavirus, but their advance can only continue to use that justification for so long. For groups like the NSCAI, Americans must welcome these AI-driven advances or else, even if it means Americans face losing their jobs or their civil liberties. Otherwise, these groups and their billionaire backers argue the U.S. will be left out and left behind when it comes time to set the new global standard for AI technology, as the U.S. will then be left in the dust by China's growing AI industry, which is fed by its own implementation of these technologies. By keeping Americans angry and distracted by the partisan divide through pre-planned election chaos, a new America waits in the wings, one that is coming regardless of what happens on Election Day. That is, of course, unless Americans quickly wake up to the ruse. So, There, we made it through all of those 5 parts. I'll put those all up together. Sorry if some of them are a little broken. You're gonna have to. I'm gonna put this article, which has links within it to all the other links Whitney uses for putting this together. Whitney is a tried and true investigative journalist, definitely bipartisan. Like, she's not, I wouldn't say a Trump lover. But she's also not a Trump hater. She's a constitutional lover. She's a Bill of Rights lover. She believes that in freedom and in the American, the Constitution, right? And what's made America, America. So I encourage you all to follow her, read her stuff. It's very insightful, very well researched, and on the money. Like I said, this is going to be my focus for a while, and I'm just going to read articles like this and put them out here for you guys to know. And I really hope that you read them for yourself. I really hope you read them several times for yourself. You really get involved in understanding what's going on, and you wake up. Because the only way we could slow this stuff down and possibly stop it or change it is if we all wake up to what's going on. That's the purpose of what I'm doing. That's the purpose of putting these up. And so it's really important to me that you guys, follow this. So, and take a look at this for your own sake. So, I'm going to be doing some more series on some other of these articles. I really hope you guys follow them, share them, like them, and go to SJG Perspective and subscribe. And until next time, I guess that's about it, right? Until next time, it's SJG Perspective. We will be back again soon with some more articles. And I guess that's about all I got to say right now. So, without fear or animus, it's SJG Perspective. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good night. Bye.